All right, Mr. TALIAFERRO TV, how's everybody doing out there? We are talking Cleveland Cavaliers and this whole Jimmy Butler, Paul George epidemic, all right? For those who don't know, it looks like in the next 24 to 48 hours, the draft is tomorrow, Thursday, it looks like we might see a trade of Paul George or Jimmy Butler. Here's what I've been told. There's like a 35% chance we see Jimmy Butler get traded, almost upwards of 75 to 85% chance we see Paul George get traded. All right, so extremely higher chances we see Paul George get moved from the Indiana Pacers. All right, here's the dilemma. To be honest with you, the Cleveland Cavaliers are at the forefront of either one of these trades, and honestly, for the Cavs, LeBron would prefer Paul George. It's what's been rumored out there for the last couple days. LeBron wants Paul George. He thinks Paul George will play better with him. Paul George, a better matchup for the Golden State Warriors. Paul George is a better three-point shooter than Jimmy Butler. They don't need a clutch guy, which is Jimmy Butler is a better clutch player than Paul George. They don't need a clutch guy. They already have Kyrie Irving. That's LeBron's thought process, or what his team is putting out there. The Cavs owner, Dan Gilbert, he wants Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler has a couple years left on his deal with the Chicago Bulls right now. If you get Jimmy Butler, even if the Cavs, whether let's say they lose to the Golden State Warriors in the finals next year, they lose Paul George, who still wants to get out in LA, regardless of playing with the Cavs, regardless of wherever he goes. I've been told that even if he won a championship with the Cleveland Cavaliers, he's destined to get to the Los Angeles Lakers. That's where his heart is at. All right, so the Cavs owner, Dan Gilbert, would want to have Jimmy Butler just in case the Cavs lose to the Warriors next year and LeBron leaves Cleveland, Paul George leaves Cleveland. He'd rather have Jimmy Butler with a couple more years left on his deal and build around Kyrie Irving and Jimmy Butler. Remember, they're going to lose Kevin Love if they require either one of these guys, right? So that's kind of where the owners are. And Dan Gilbert has paid a lot of money to keep this Cavs team competitive. Remember, they gave LeBron James his friends, Tristan Thompson, Max Dollar. J.R. Smith's making a nice lump sum of change. And remember, the Cavs were competing with themselves last year in free agency with J.R. Smith. No other team made an offer to J.R. Smith, and he got, what, $52 million? That was a ridiculous deal. The Cavs owner, Dan Gilbert, has overpaid to stay competitive just to please LeBron James. He's since fired David Griffin this offseason. And it just all depends where Dan Gilbert's at with it. For basketball, I'm pretty sure he knows Paul George makes better sense for LeBron James. Jimmy Butler doesn't get along with a lot of guys in the league. I'm pretty sure he understands that Paul George makes more basketball sense, and he wouldn't know more about basketball on the court than LeBron James. So if LeBron wants Paul George, you have to take his word. The problem is LeBron and Dan Gilbert don't talk. The middleman was David Griffin, the GM that just got fired or let go the other day. They don't talk. LeBron and Dan Gilbert don't talk. Remember that letter that Dan Gilbert put out on LeBron James when he left Cleveland the first time? So they don't talk at all. So Dan's probably going to want to go in the other direction and get Jimmy Butler to be difficult and to kind of cover his slack just in case he loses LeBron James and a Paul George next offseason. That's pretty much where both sides are with this. Again, from a basketball standpoint, I agree with LeBron James. And who am I to talk basketball over LeBron James? Paul George makes more sense for that team. And I do believe in my heart of hearts, if you get Paul George there and he sees how it is to compete for championships and he gets to the final with Cleveland, they're going to be the overwhelming favorite even without Paul George, let alone if they sign Paul George as the NBA teams are currently constructed. They'll still be the favorite regardless to get to the finals, regardless of what any other team does in the Eastern Conference. You give Paul George a taste of how it is to play in that big of a stage. I think he'll want to stay in Cleveland, but hey, you want me to put up LA and Cleveland next to each other for living and comfort and life? Of course, I'm taking my behind out to LA, but you're not competing for championships out in LA. You're competing for the 7th, 8th seed for the next couple years. So, hey, it's a lot going right now, but I'm being told that Dan Gilbert wants Jimmy Butler for that comfort, and LeBron James wants to win. Now, obviously, he wants Paul George. So there's a gift and a curse to being the best player in the world like a LeBron James, because people know you're so great. They know you don't settle for less. And it's clear that LeBron James doesn't want to be in a rebuild process. He wants to win now. Dan Gilbert wants power back. He lost a lot of power when LeBron decided to come back to Cleveland. LeBron came back to Cleveland in spite of Dan Gilbert. Remember, on the Undefeated, the interview that just released a couple weeks ago in the barbershop, or about a week ago in the barbershop with LeBron and Draymond Green and 2 Chainz and company, LeBron said his wife didn't want to come back to Cleveland after he was leaving Miami. His mother didn't want to come back to Cleveland. Nobody wanted to rock with Dan Gilbert after that letter to LeBron James. So we'll see. It's all interesting, but it'll come down to what Dan Gilbert wants to do. Does he want to think short term and try to win with Paul George? Or does he want to think long term with Jimmy Butler, or try to cover himself? Or hey, does he make a move at all? And maybe he doesn't make a move at all, and he just try this same team against the Golden State Warriors. You think maybe the Cavs have figured this team out in the last couple games? I don't believe that. If they didn't beat the Warriors then, they're not going to beat them next year. The Warriors are only going to get better. All their guys are in their prime. But we'll see where Dan Gilbert's head is at with it. The Cavs, to me, have to make moves, and I think you got to go get another wing guy. That's my opinion. Comment your responses below. Subscribe to my channel for more exclusive content like this. Thank y'all so much. It's Mr. TALIAFERRO. Doing my best to get these sources and get you guys this information first. Draft tomorrow. Of course, I'm going to have coverage all day tomorrow. And I'm out. If you're looking to book me for an interview video or by phone, if you're looking to have your music or your skill featured on my daily podcast, if you're looking to book me for a speaking engagement to help motivate some kids, if you're looking to have me rock some of your clothing to help promote your brand, make sure you hit me up at booking@itsmrtaliaferro.com. Again, that's booking@itsmrtaliaferro.com.